Be Italian, be Italian. Be Italian, Italian, Italian.
Bum ba bum bum ba.
Tambourine, tambourine, tambourine in the sand.
Ta 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 ta. Ya ta da 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 ta. Oh my God, Fergie and her. I believe
Stacey Ferguson.
Stacey Ferguson, and I believe the Italian is Bazumas.
Right,
Are I believe that's the Italian.
That's the authentic terminology.
Jugs.
Well, buongiorno.
Hugos.
Well, buongiorno, everybody.
Honestly, RJ, you
Buongiorno.
have to remember we have to defer to Molly for anything Italian because she did spend a semester abroad there.
Did spend a semester abroad, and I think I'm the only person on this podcast with Italian heritage as well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, RJ's 100% Italian. He's from
Oh,
Italy. You didn't know?
Oh, this is olive tone. Oh,
No.
Honestly, the only country more Catholic than Italy, we always say.
Absolutely.
The
No, I think
Philippines.
Poland still might have both beat, but
Oh,
no,
that's
I think didn't we determine on a previous pod maybe Philippines beats Poland?
yes, because Vatican City and the Philippines are still the only two countries that do not have divorce.
That's how we're measuring it.
Legal.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not based on the number of followers. It's just
No.
No,
what's
it's
in the
just
law. Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. It's really there's
Great
no
to
joke
be
there.
here
So I'm gonna end
today.
it right there. We're learning self-censorship in this season of Showgays.
Mm,
It's something
interesting.
gorgeous we're trying out. Molly,
We're
how are
trying
you?
growth. We're trying censorship. I'm good. It's a little bit chilly in San Diego, which I feel
come on.
ridiculous saying, but
How
I'm
cold is it?
actually. It was like in the low 60s today.
Oh wow, it's
I'm
colder
just-
there than here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying that I can like wear sweaters because I brought them with me and was like, will I ever be able to wear these? So I am saying it not to complain, but rather to say I'm excited I get to bust out the fall wardrobe.
Listen,
And you know what? It'll stay that way. It's gonna probably dip to the 50s.
It's winter here, baby.
I mean, here's what I will say. Molly is on the coast. She's on right on that ocean. It's not like she's like in Palm Springs
That's
where
true.
it's a desert.
One day I'll be there, but not today.
You do get
she's
you
inching
do
closer
get
and closer.
some of that coldness from the coast. It like brings it down a little bit. So, you know, we know that in Chicago, obviously the third coast of America.
Yes, by the
Cooler
great,
by the lake.
It's cooler.
the
by
Great Ocean, Michigan.
Great Ocean, Michigan. RJ, how was Phoenix?
Phoenix was great. Phoenix was not chilly. It was
Sure.
actually a
I think
little
it's
warmer.
famous for that.
Yeah. It was fine. My parents were, funny enough, speaking of Catholics, in a pilgrimage to Mexico City to see Our Lady of Guadalupe and the
Nice.
holy sites. They were there for like a week. They came home. They actually met my aunt, one of their family friends from the Philippines, and her friend who is a priest. So before I left, they arrived and they're staying with my parents for the weekend, and there was a priest in my home. So I was like, "Hello, sir. Now I'll be going. So enjoy cleansing the house, I guess." Not that
Have
I'm
you
gone.
ever seen the movie The Way?
No.
It's about what's it called? But there's a pilgrimage that's in like Spain and Portugal and like Basque France, I think.
Mhm.
And we watched it for the religious studies class that I taught.
Oh.
And it was surprisingly good. I just assumed whatever movie we were watching for Christianity would not be
Good.
well
Yeah.
made because Christian media does not have the best reputation.
You haven't seen The Shack then, Molly.
No, I have not. But it's Emilio Estevez and Martin Sheen. Martin Sheen's like the main guy.
Main guy.
And his son Emilio. So they're like playing
He
actual father and
plays the
son.
titular role, the way.
He plays the titular way. And This is like, I mean, if you're really spoiler phobic, I guess skip ahead 30 seconds. But at the beginning of the pod, at the beginning of the movie, Emilio Estevez goes on this trip, but then he dies unexpectedly on the pilgrimage. So then his dad decides to complete it on his behalf.
Wow. And that's the way.
That is the way.
That is the way. The real way are the sons that died along the way.
Yeah.
There was one set of ways.
I took the son less traveled.
Yeah. You took the way less sunned.
Well.
How about you, Adam? How was Chicago? You and Friedrich all by your lonesomes.
It was fine. You know, Friedrich got yelled at a lot for barking. So I don't know if that, I had a thought when I was yelling at him for making noise that I was like,
he's a dog.
Is me being loud reinforcing that he's allowed to be loud? Is that not helpful?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? We're already this far in. He's gonna be 6.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna be 6, so he's halfway done. You know what I mean?
You're supposed to.
Done halfway done in what?
In life.
Oh, his studies.
Yeah.
I believe you're supposed to train them to speak on command, and then once they know that command, it's easier to train them to hush on command.
Oh, well, we would have had to do any type of training first of all.
Yeah.
We were very busy in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Working 40 hours or more for
easily more.
Yeah. For not equal. Anyway, whatever. The past is the past.
Well, speaking of the past, Molly, this week you have the 1-minute challenge to sum up 9.
I'm surprisingly nervous that I'm not going to be able to do it, but I do feel like I need all this information in here.
It's so funny because I would say, what plot? You know what I mean? What's the plot? It's general vibes, but also there is a plot.
Right. And also because it's such a abstracted film a lot of time. There's a lot of fragments, there's a lot of episodes, there's a lot of internal stuff happening. I feel like the audience really needs us to be able to give them the skeleton of what's organizing all of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So Molly, this is your 1-minute challenge to summarize 9 from 2009, directed by Rob Martin, directed by Mr. 9 himself. And your time starts now.
Director Guido Contini is struggling with a concept for his new film. He escapes to the countryside where he meets up with his mistress, Carla. He has visions of his childhood through his costumer/sounding board Lily's number on the Folies Bergère, and a memory of paying a sex worker, Sarah Gina, to dance for him and his friends as a child. Guido's wife, Louisa, one of his former leading ladies, shows up at a dinner to inspire him, but storms off when she sees Carla, the mistress. He nearly sleeps with an American fashion reporter, Stephanie, who loves his stylish portrayals of Italian life, but he refuses and sees his mother, who sings him a lullaby. Carla attempts suicide and returns to her husband. Guido's current leading lady, Claudia, tells Guido that he loves the idea of her, but cannot see her as a real person. While watching screen tests later, Louisa sees Guido take down the hair of one of the auditioners in the same way he did when he first met Louisa, leading her to realize that nothing in their relationship is unique. Louisa leaves him, and he calls off the film. 2 years later, Lily convinces Guido to make a film about a man winning his wife back. We see the women behind Guido as he preps the step, and a childhood version of himself sits on his lap as he calls action.
Oh, just over.
Just over by
maybe 5 seconds.
5 seconds, yeah.
Good job, though. I
I could tell there was hesitation halfway through that you were like, do I need to
clear?
be saying?
Is this mixed? I was adding on little clarifiers.
Yeah,
I was wait, are you going to follow what? Yeah. Also, is it Lily? I don't know why I watched this whole movie, and then when I looked at it, I was immediately like, what's this woman's?
Which one?
It's Lily.
It's Lily? Okay.
It's Judi Dench.
Yeah, it's
Judi
Judi
Dench
Dench.
is Lily.
Listeners, spoiler.
Everybody's favorite French character, Lily, played by British woman Judi Dench.
Yeah.
Spoiler to the pod, but yes, one of our famous nemesis is alive and present.
I think I think this is the only other musical she's ever been in.
I don't know.
I'm trying to run through the general.
Y'all are picking them on purpose.
Yeah.
Me?
We have to. Okay. Well, every year we have to start
with
our
a Judi
season
Dench
with a Judi Dench.
With a Judi Dench opener. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're running out of musicals. So next season we're just gonna watch Philomena and address that. We're gonna talk about. Is that Alzheimer's? Is that about Alzheimer's?
I don't know.
No,
that's still Alice.
Yeah. She's just
Philomena's just adopted.
She's an old woman looking for
her parents,
her child that she gave away.
Oh, she had the child. Got it. Everybody, you gotta go.
And just to review for everyone, Adam, what's an orphan again?
It's a thing that happens frequently.
Thank you.
Happens frequently. Happy Easter, everyone.
Mary Hoppins. So, Molly, what did you see this movie before? What's your background with Nine? I'm fascinated by this movie.
So that's a question.
No, that was it. That was the question.
Here's a question. I'm going to make a statement.
Here's a question. I'm going to make a statement. So don't answer yet.
Don't answer yet.
Let me finish my thought.
Yeah.
Well, this movie really is about men talking over women. So I'm really going to bring that to the forefront of this spot.
I see.
Something I don't usually do.
No.
Never before seen.
Never before. I watched this movie for the first time in high school, and I liked it at the time, but I think it gradually both faded from my memory in terms of what actually happened, and also everyone said it was bad, and so I just sort of like recategorized it as bad as a result, I think. With the exception of Fergie's Number, Be Italian, which is an absolute banger, a bop, and extra good when you're 16 and Italian American and you want to have songs about how cool you are.
This is why representation matters.
This is why
we have to talk about the persecuted Italian American community.
Absolutely.
That's really what we're going to focus on today, everybody.
Actually, we shouldn't, because it like very quickly gets into white supremacy when you try to talk about the history of Italians. So
Columbus Day? There's nothing bad there.
The point is, you know, I really identify with Saragina, I guess.
Yeah. Beach
similar. Very similar.
Well, now you're in San Diego by the beach.
Beach sex worker.
Now it's all making sense, Molly.
Yeah. RJ?
Okay, so I watched this in the format that I think, like you watched La La Land, in the format that it was meant to be watched on.
Split up into 2 parts?
On a plane. So I think I was actually flying back to the Philippines for my sister's wedding. So that was 2010. So this movie came out 2009. So I didn't see it when it came out. I saw it obviously later. And I just knew that it was a musical because just from like the promotional pictures. And at the time I had a very, very big obsession with Marion Cotillard. I had just watched her in La Vie en Rose. And I was like, this is my favorite actress of all time. I love that movie so much. I watched her in Inception. I was like, this is amazing.
Oh, that's right. I forgot she's in Inception.
So I was like,
how could you forget?
How could you forget?
I didn't like that movie. That's why.
So good.
So I was like, okay, then she's the girl. So I knew that she was in this, so I was very excited. And I ate it up. So this was like, right after high school. So still very much in the demographic of like movie musicals speak to me. This is my form of media, like the way I like made Rent my personality, like when that movie came out. So all I did,
no one else did that. So that's very unique.
So I was literally obsessed with all the musical numbers. I didn't really care about the plot, obviously.
Who can blame you, honestly?
But every time there was like a new number that came out, I was obsessed with. As soon as I got off the plane, I like downloaded the songs, and this was on a tight rotation in my musicals playlist. All the women's song, obviously. Not so much the Sophia Loren song, but definitely Cinema Italiano.
It's
Be Italian. Both Marion Cotillard songs. Unusual Way if I was feeling sentimental. Folie Bergère, I would let it start, and then when it gets to the speaking part, I would skip next because I was like, I know it's breaking the whole song. So yeah, I definitely am in the same boat as you, where like throughout college, people were like, "Oh my god, that movie was so bad," and I was like, "Yeah," and just like a fully
RJ and I are just unconsciously bullying one another into thinking 9 is bad.
Yeah. And I think we were like, "Oh yeah, oh my god, it was so bad," and I was like, "Yeah, I guess that was a bad movie that I just enjoyed." I
can't wait to hear your updated thoughts on 9. I saw this movie in theaters with a friend who. She was in her first year at IU, and it was like Christmas break, so she was back.
She was in town.
She had been the president of the drama club, and I had been her vice president, so we were like cute and close.
You were okay.
Yeah, I was Kamala Harris.
Okay.
I love Venn diagrams. You have to be on Twitter to get that joke.
Not anymore. No one can be on Twitter anymore.
Nobody should be on Twitter. So we went to go see it in theaters. I paid American currency to watch this film. I probably paid extra because I probably got a popcorn. Is my guess of
I don't think we can blame the movie for that.
No, but
I'm blaming the system.
I'm blaming
the system. Yeah, it's a systemic
blaming
problem.
the man.
Yeah.
And by the man, I mean Daniel Day-Lewis.
The only man.
The only man.
Yeah.
Saw this movie, and I remember distinctly like not liking it. I just thought it was like not good. And I didn't love any of the songs enough to be like, oh, and that was good. I remember liking Marion Cotillard. And I remember liking the way that Carla's song is like shot, where she's like coming down the like silk during the call to from the Vatican or whatever.
Oh yeah. Those legs were the promotional photos for like the entire run.
I remember Legs, the pantyhose company. Anyway, yeah, so I didn't like it, and I feel vindicated after watching it again. But we must, before we even talk about the film, we have to talk about the background. So this film is based on a musical, which is based on a movie. So we're in like Little Shop territory.
Oh.
And honestly, I didn't go back any further than this, but the movie it's based on is called 8½. And it's by the director is Federico Fellini, who's like a huge influence in Italian cinema and honestly like general cinema.
Very famous.
And it is semi-autobiographical. So I probably should have looked into like his life, but we were so deep at the point that I was like referencing an Italian film that I probably will never see, that I was like, we're not going 4 steps removed now.
I did not research his life, but I did research some of the feminist reception to his movies, so we can fill in some of that information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk about 8½ really quick, and then you can tell us about his general oeuvre.
Yeah, let's do that.
So 8½ came out in 1963. As I said, it's directed by Federico Fellini. It is described as a metafictional, surrealist, semi-autobiographical comedy drama.
So everything.
So a hat on a hat on a hat.
Absolutely.
This is a period in his movie making where he had started in like neo-realism, and then he had like swayed into surrealism, and then he goes back into realism at a later point in his life. So he's right in this like middle portion. It did win the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film the year it came out. It is on like many lists as one of the best, one of the most influential films of all time, especially for Italian cinema. So I'm sure it's like good.
Yeah, I'm sure it's.
Wow.
I'm not gonna watch
what does that mean? Yeah.
But it's titled 8½because it is his 8½. It is his 8½th film.
Eighth and a half.
8½. Film.
Ladies' attorney.
So
8 and a half.
He had directed. He had directed 7 films on his own, and then he had also co-directed 1 film. So that was 7½. So this is his 8½. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it certainly isn't that there are 8½ women in it, because I'll tell you this much, there aren't 9 ladies in this film.
No, there's not, but we'll talk about 9 when I get to 9. So I will just read to you the general description of 8½. This is the quick summary that I came up with. A director named Guido has director's block working on a film. He goes to a spa to relax and reflect, but his wife Louisa, Mistress Carla, and the production team come as well. Louisa sees Carla and is upset. Guido creates a harem in his mind of all the women he's ever known, lording over them, but a rogue showgirl starts a rebellion. That's the surreal part. Yeah. That's the it's fiction. After the film, Louisa is portrayed bitterly in the film, or after the film is released, or after they see the film, I don't know. She declares the marriage to be over, but Guido finds the ideal woman in Claudia, who's the actress in the film, and tells him the story doesn't work because the protagonist is unsympathetic and doesn't deserve love. However, Guido discovers that he needs the people in his life, because Carla tells him this, chooses Louisa, seemingly, and they rejoin the dance of all the others who leave a space in the big circle for them. That's 8½.
Okay.
Molly.
Yes.
Federico Fellini. Huge.
Let's talk. Let's talk Feline.
Feminist
Let's talk
reception.
Felines.
Scrolling
Our
through
Felines, Felini's fans, the Felines. That's what we call
his Wikipedia page very quickly. There are many themes. One is Catholic guilt. One is like general sex, like beauty, just like very and I don't want to be like
Molly. We're
not going to stereotype Italians, but like they love an opera. You know what I mean? The melodrama of it all.
Yeah, not the microaggression. They love an opera.
So that energy, right? A Sophia Petrillo, that energy. Okay. So you can take it from here in regards to the feminist response.
Oh, I sure
Is this second wave feminism?
Yes, the 70s.
Perfect.
Let's think about our history here, Adam. Okay, so I did read an article called, hold on, let me scroll down to my citation section of the doc. Federico Fellini and the debate in Italian feminist magazines 1973 through 80 in the Journal of Italian Cinema by Francesca Cantore and Giulia Muggio, I think would be how you say her name, which was an analysis of people talking back to Fellini's films, obviously in the 70s into the 80s. So 8.5 wasn't really the beginning of the like, hey, this guy is kind of a great symbol of like everything wrong with movies that men make and how they portray women. But the harem scene becomes sort of like a big important thing that gets analyzed a lot, obviously, in feminist film discourse. And so I did watch the harem scene. I also watched the ending of 8.5 because I could find them on YouTube. Now, harem scene, obviously, it's in Italian, and then it had Spanish subtitles. Perfect. So I know enough Italian that I had a sense of what was going on, but I didn't get all the nuances right of the scene. But I believe that what actually happens is, so all of the women that are in the film are like tending to him, making him feel better, kind of like making him feel at home. Also really interesting, this wasn't in any of the analysis that I read. I'm sure that it's been analyzed, but just not the article I chose to read. There is one Black woman in this scene who like appears in sort of like a bed sheet wrapped around her and seems the most sexualized of all of the figures. Now, maybe she's also, I didn't watch all of 8.5, so I don't know if she's like just in this scene or if she's in other scenes as well. And then the showgirl shows up and she is complaining about the fact that when she turned 26, she got sent upstairs, with the implication being that he has no use for her anymore because she has turned 26. So she starts this whole revolution. All the women are complaining all of a sudden. They're yapping their mouths.
Was she dating Leonardo DiCaprio? Is that why?
This is the OG. This is the OG Leonardo DiCaprio situation. And then, I don't remember what the character's name is in 8.5, but the Fellini stand-in grabs a whip and starts to whip the women. And many of them are terrified, but some of them are also turned on by this. And then that subdues them, and then they all sit down for a nice calm meal.
Sorry, you said you didn't know who the Fellini stand-in is. His name's Guido.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So some interesting things to know are also that there is a picture of Fellini on set holding this whip, like showing the actor how to do this scene that kind of became this like iconic image of him as this like crazy dictator director and being this maestro, this, in charge of everything on set, all that stuff. But also in the feminist discourse, I will say in this article, I thought that the thesis statement was a little bit unclear, but they talk about the fact that, so he gets named like anti-feminist of the month by FA, which is one of these feminist magazines in the 70s in Italy. They do like a whole
what a fun segment to
about it. Yeah. Then they do like another follow-up issue all about it, and they're getting like all these collections of accounts from women, but now it's women who worked on the movie City of Women. So we're going to talk about that in a second.
Okay.
But there's like thousands of women worked on this movie, and so they get all these different accounts. And I think the thing that they are pointing to, but like maybe not saying directly, is like, but everyone is like so obsessed with this dude that like you can tell they're all a little bit into him. Like I think that that's the implication, is that like while there's a lot of critique of what's in his movies and how he runs his set, that there's a lot of people saying I was like very objectified and belittled on set as well, that like all of the narratives are very like, and then I hear all this stuff about this guy, and then it like climaxes in the scene where he actually shows up and they have a real interaction with him, and it's like very sort of like feeding into the narrative of like this guy is charismatic and in charge and like all this stuff. And it's the kind of thing that now we might say like, are you giving him more power by doing this thing or less?
Yeah.
It's interesting who produces this movie, but yes, we must continue.
I know. I wrote in my notes like I need a separate conversation of like Fellini, Guido, and then like
Harvey
aesthetically
Weinstein.
a film, right? And then the context around the film. But like, I want to do all the Fellini stuff now, and then I need to like pretend the character's not Fellini for a bit, or else I'm just going to complain about Fellini.
Yeah.
City of Women came out later. Oh my gosh, I should have it right up here.
Women.
City of Women.
Are they shining just for me?
Yes, they are, because I am the only subject. Okay, 1980. So City of Women has a scene. The beginning of City of Women is this guy sees this woman on a train and he's attracted to her. I think they hook up, or maybe they just like almost hook up. But then she like wanders off the train into the countryside. So he follows her into this hotel, and there is a feminist conference happening in the hotel. And so there's like a good 20-minute segment of like Fellini's portrayal of a feminist conference. So you see why this has been engaged with a lot.
Yeah.
Quack,
quack, bicker, bicker, quack, quack, bicker, bicker.
A great portrayal. I actually thought that it would be like
extremely nuanced portrayal of feminism.
Yeah, I thought it would be like a little more. I feel like the first hit against feminists is always like they're ugly and they're like butch and whatever.
Yeah.
He went more for like it's like a bunch of women screaming about like abolishing various sex acts, and it's like his understanding is that like that's what feminists
which is
like
so
into is like
weird, because it's almost like a more sexual revolution almost is tied to, I feel like, to like,
or an anti-sexual revolution.
I mean, it's like it's all there together, right?
It's all in the melting pot.
I want to encourage listeners, one, go ahead and watch that harem scene, go ahead and watch that feminist conference. I think it's interesting. And then two, I want to end our little Fellini mom by reading to you this quote from the middle of the article, which was from an interview that was done with Fellini in December of 1973 in Playboy magazine, done by the president of the Association for Mental Analysis, because we're gonna have to talk about Freud, unfortunately.
Oh God!
Oh my God!
And
it's all there together. It's all in there.
Yeah. I think, I mean, to understand the like surrealism and what's impacting what's ultimately in the movie, we have to like understand everyone's very into psychoanalysis at this point. That is the height of academic analysis, is to talk about Freud. So Fellini is asked his stance on feminism, and this is what he said in 1973. Now there's like more back and forth. We're catching him in a moment in time, but I think it's illustrative to know this, especially because 8.5 is produced before this interview. I'm annoyed by the attempt to be political, any conversation that should otherwise be just psychological or artistic. So if by feminism we mean the assertion of every woman's rights in any field and the right to affirm her personality and qualities, which are often undermined and ignored, then I'm a feminist too. But if feminism means a pseudo-revolution in which women, who are incapable of being such, want to validate their ineptitude by turning it into merits and virtues, then I don't think it's a commendable type of feminism. It would be as if the crippled got together to claim that being physically impaired should be the norm. And
well,
I mean, no notes, Fellini.
No notes.
Perfect.
It's very, as you read this article where there's like kind of a little bit of back and forth between Fellini and the feminists, like it's clear that he like cared enough to engage with it to some degree.
Yeah.
There's a lot of vibes of like, but I love women. So like, I can be a misogynist. I
Molly.
love women.
I know a woman. I know eight.
It's like, it's all
I
about
have a mother.
women.
It's the
It's
thing
about
of like,
how the women are like even better than the man, really, if you think about it. So like, I love women.
Molly, you have led me so perfectly into our discussion of the musical. I couldn't have asked for anything better. Are you finished with that bit?
Can I silence you now?
Can I silence you now, woman?
That was all. Yeah, that was actually all a bit. I made up 100% that Fellini was actually like a total G. We love him. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
So 9, which debuted in 1982, the music started to be written. Music and lyrics are by Maury Yeston. He started working on the music in 1973. He had seen Fellini movies from an early age. He was very inspired by them. He loved 8.5, so he started like turning it into a musical per se. This is a quote from the person who saw 8.5 and responded in a way that was like, I see this. Okay, right? Mm-hmm. So just like that. I looked at the screen and said, that's me. Oh, this is only the beginning. I still believe.
Yeah, we're snapping.
I still believed in all the dreams and ideals of what it was to be an artist. And here was a movie about an artist in trouble. It became an obsession. 9 was the thing I really desperately wanted to write, never thinking for a minute that it would ever be produced. The movie had a phenomenal impact on me when I saw it as a teenager when it first came out. Perfect. Andrew Tate. I was fascinated with Guido, who was going through a second adolescence when I was going through my first. I thought that was very interesting to call his midlife crisis an adolescence. And honestly, that might be the correct way to define men's midlife crises.
Well, there's a lot of stuff about his childhood. We like see a physical representation of him as a child. Like that's obviously a part of this. Yeah.
As I grew, I began to realize that there was room to explore the reaction of the inner workings of the women in Guido's wake. I think that's what opened the gateways of creativity for 9, to hear from these extraordinary women. The great secret of 9 is that it took 8.5 and became an essay on the power of women by answering the question, what are women to men?
What are women?
The eternal question. How do we define women from a men's perspective?
If you will. Yeah. Girl defined.
I have an answer. No, he answers the question.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Luckily for you, you need not worry about it because he knows the answer.
I won't worry my pretty little head.
No. So remember, the question is, what are women to men? And 9 tells you they are our mothers, our sisters, our teachers, our temptresses, our judges, our nurses, our wives, our mistresses, our muses.
And that's clearly defined.
Wow. I want a RuPaul Drag Race challenge where they each have to be one of those. For sure.
A rusical that just is 9.
Yes, but like bad. Or like, just do 9. I guess.
Yeah, like better. Yeah.
Silky Nutmeg Ganache, since you won our mini challenge, you get to assign what woman each queen will represent.
Oh, I thought you meant because of like her Barbie girl that you were like just Silky does all of them.
Divide the face into 9 slices.
Nondrents or something. Yeah.
So that's his full quote.
Great.
I did say RJ watching this movie.
Or is he?
I didn't. You know what? Let's do a quick Google. That doesn't mean anything, by the way. Famously, gay men can still be terrible, but we'd love to know for sure. Maury?
Yo, oh, there it is. Oh, Lacage. I see a Lacage.
We need a...
No.
Julianne, his wife.
Could
be bi.
We never know.
We
could all be bi.
We can't assign people's sexualities. This man is straight. I can tell you right now, this man is straight.
I mean, the quote doesn't necessarily give, gay energy, but I wanted to check if he did write a musical. It's not giving gay, but it could be receiving gay. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's hard to understand because also like the movie is gay. Because it's Rob Marshall who directed it. So I thought that quote was very interesting because it's bad and it really explains the frame of mind of someone who decides that this is what they want to do. And also we have to remember, looking back at the 1980s, that this musical did win Best New Musical at the Tonys. So the Tonys always get it right. We all know that.
Yeah.
The Tonys always get it right. And there's never anything to look back on and be like,
I think also, to be fair, it looks like there was kind of a substantial amount of like cuts and stuff for the movie. So I don't want to like denounce the musical necessarily.
Molly, my God, the segues continue tonight.
Like just a machine.
So
we've got 1 year in. We just got it in the bag.
Got the
rhythm down. So the book is by Mario Fratti and Arthur Caput. So Fratti first wrote the first adaptation of the book in 1977. Tommy Tune is the director of the original musical, and they threw the script out because they were like, it's not good. They still gave him credit in terms of like he was the first original story perspective. But Coppett wrote the script in 1981. He came on board in 1981. Just so everybody knows. So here, I'm going to not read the entire summary of the musical, but I'm going to point out a few things that I noticed. First of all, I'd like to point out, I do have to read a little bit, because the person who wrote the summary, the plot summary on Wikipedia, has a BFA in English. And here's why. Just the way they wrote. Normally, Wikipedia plot summaries are like, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, da-da-da-da-da-da. Clinical. No.
I see that we're trying to outdo me and my summary that I did.
Right.
Okay.
I guess I'll try to bring more literary merit to the next summary.
This is toward the end of the film. The improvised movie is a spectacular collision between his real life and his creative one. A film that is as self-lacerating as it is cruel, during which Carla races onto the set to announce her divorce and her delight that they can be married only to be brutally rejected by Guido in his desperate fixation with the next setup, and which climaxes with Louisa, appalled and moved by his use of their intimacy and even her words as a source for the film, finally detonating with sadness and rage. Guido keeps the cameras rolling, capturing a scene of utter desolation. The women he loves, and Louisa whom he loves above all, littered like smashed porcelain across the frame of his hopelessly beautiful failure of a film. Cut, print.
Wow.
We need to calm down. We need to...
This is a plot summary.
You cannot send this in and be like, I wrote this for Wikipedia. Please employ me at the nearest journalistic publication. Like this isn't how it works.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm reading the rest, and he is fully. Giving
shall
up
I continue?
This is not. I mean, it's not journalistic. It's an essay.
No, it's a creative writing seminar.
Yeah.
The film is dead. The cast leaves. They all leave. Carla with simple words from the articulate broken heart. Claudia with a letter from Paris to say that she is married, and Louisa in a shattering exit from a marriage that has, as she says, been all of me. Guido is alone. I Can't Make This Movie ascends into the scream of Guido out in space with no direction, and he contemplates suicide. But it's also not in the movie. But as the gun is... There's so much that's changed.
Yeah.
But as the gun is at his head, there is a final life-saving interruption from his 9-year-old self, in which the young Guido points it out it is time to move on, to grow up. And Guido surrenders the gun. As the women return in a reprise of the overture, but this time to let him go, only one is absent, Louisa. Guido feels the aching void left by the only woman he will ever love. In the 2003 Broadway production, as the boy led the women off into his own future to the strains of Be Italian, Louisa steps into the room on the final note, and Guido turned toward her. This time, ready to listen.
This gay man that wrote this song.
Oh my God. He saw this at a formative age. He was like, this is it.
This is speaking to me.
This is speaking to me. So there's a lot of changes. I encourage you, if you'd like to go read the Wikipedia plot summary of
It's a beautiful piece of writing.
just to really appreciate the beautiful craftsmanship of the English language here. But there's a bunch of changes. I think the movie tried to just pare it down to like what the themes are.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think some of this kind of would have been helpful to make it a little bit more cinematic in some regard, or just like interesting even. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just a little bit of that.
A little
for
more
everybody.
opera, if you will.
Absolutely.
To use it as a metaphor. I think too, I would like to discuss at some point the centering of Louisa and Guido's relationship and how I believe that differs from the Fellini film, but I feel like let's save that for as we discuss it in the movie. Yeah.
Sure.
So at the Tonys, I said it won Best Musical. It also won Best Original Score. It won Best Performance by a Featured Actress, Lillian, who plays Lily, Best Direction of a Musical for Tommy Tune, and Best Costume Design.
Tommy Tune, as in Put On Your Sunday Clothes?
Put On Your Sunday Clothes from Hello Dolly. Yes.
Is that the person's real name? Or
Ambrose,
is that...
his real name is Tommy Tune.
The tallest director on Broadway.
The tallest director. He's like 7 feet tall. He's Ambrose Kemper in Hello Dolly. We know him. We love him.
Mm-hmm.
It also was nominated for Best Lighting Design, Best Scene Design, Best Choreography, 2 more: Best Performance by a Featured Actress in a Musical, Best Performance by a Leading Actor, and Best Book.
I mean, this would be the musical to get 3 featured actress nominations.
Oh, 100%. Okay, we have to move on to the film. Nine is directed by Rob Marshall. Its screenplay is by Michael Tolkien, not J.R.R. Tolkien, and Anthony Minghella. So that sounds Italian, so congrats to him for being one of the few people who are Italian that worked on this film. It is based on Nine. It's produced by Rob Marshall, Mark Platt, Ben's dad is back, Harvey Weinstein, and John DeLuca. It stars Daniel Day-Lewis as Guido, Marion Cotillard as Louisa, Penelope Cruz as Carla, Judi Dench as Lily, or Lilian, technically. Fergie is Sarangina. Kate Hudson is a new character named Stephanie. Nicole Kidman is Claudia. And Sophia Loren, the only Italian person in this movie, besides like small bit parts, it plays Mamma Contini.
Technically, Marion Cotillard is supposed to be Italian as well, because there is a scene where she has to explain when she's a French actress.
She's like, "Oh, my father's Italian, but my
mother's French."
Yeah. But it makes sense that I have an Italian name. Don't you see?
Yeah. Sophia Loren, again, the only person who pretty much is a star in this movie that is truly Italian. Sophia Loren, the living legend. We know her, we love her. I've seen like a couple of her films from the 60s. Nobody's ever been more beautiful on the screen. She is in 4 minutes of this movie. She has 4 minutes of screen time, and it's just bonkers to me. We love talking about casting. So Claudia, Nicole Kidman's character, she actually replaced Catherine Zeta-Jones. Catherine Zeta was originally cast as Claudia. Remember, Rob Marshall had directed Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So he was going to use Catherine again. They love working together. She said, we got to make Claudia's part bigger. What are we doing? This is too small of a role. And he said no. And she said, I'm leaving.
Okay. Just like Claudia, she left.
Between Catherine and Nicole, there was a race for Claudia. So Amy Adams was in the mix, Gwyneth Paltrow, Anne Hathaway, Demi Moore, and Juliette Binoche. But they went with Nicole Kidman.
I like all of those options except for Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, I agree.
Same.
Demi Moore would be.
Could you imagine Gwyneth Paltrow doing an Italian accent? I would die.
I'm trying to think. Was Demi Moore? Was that because Charlie's Angels Full Throttle was her like big return back to the movies, and she looked like a smoke show. She like looked so good for it, and I wonder if that was around the same time because she would have. I feel like the visuals would be great for Claudia.
I think Charlie's Angels, I feel like came out when I was like in middle school, and this was more high school. But same general time period,
Claudia's whole thing is she just has to be like the idealized woman.
Yeah, Charlie's Angels Full Throttle was 2003. So yeah, it's
any of these people. Guido, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, was originally cast as Javier Bardem.
Oh,
also not Italian, but we're like closer, right?
But also Penelope Cruz's husband. Right?
Oh, really?
Yes, I don't know if they were married then.
Oh, back
wild! I don't know why I never knew that.
Yeah.
Yes, but he dropped out due to exhaustion, which.
That's honestly,
I drop out of most.
I think
Saturday
we
nights.
all need to do that a little bit more as a generation.
Yes, RJ says this right as he's about to go on a 3-week vacation.
Yeah, I will be dropping out.
And in between Javier and Daniel, there was George Clooney, Johnny Depp, and Antonio Banderas. Antonio Banderas had played Guido in the 2003 revival on Broadway, but they ended up going with Daniel Day-Lewis.
But apparently we have no famous Italian actors.
None. There's none.
Well,
none.
Chris Pratt hadn't broken out yet.
Oh, God.
Right. And like, I think we're 1 year away from Jersey Shore starting. So it could have given us like a full cast, but we just weren't there yet.
We weren't there yet.
Cool.
Louisa, now Katie Holmes was gunning for the role.
Huh.
And I don't even know if I could tell you like the quintessential Katie Holmes role is.
It's Dawson's Creek.
It's Batman Begins.
Oh,
well, that's what I'm saying.
Batman
Yeah,
Begins.
and it's funny because Marion Cotillard ended up being on a Batman film as well as in the last Christopher Nolan trilogy. She was.
Oh, she's in Batman.
Talia al Ghul.
Batman. The Dark
Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises with Anne Hathaway. Stephanie, played by Katie Holmes, could have been Anne Hathaway.
Wait, but we have to go back to Louisa Katie Holmes because this is while married to Tom Cruise.
What? Yes, this is.
Yeah.
I feel like
Prime
Katie Holmes playing a misunderstood actress
and
who got married
and
up.
gunning
Like,
for it.
That's why she was pushing.
She was pushing for it.
Interesting.
That's a story.
We could have made people want to keep watching this movie to see that portrayal, I think.
The thing is like...
The pieces of the puzzle were always there.
Of all of the performances in this movie, Luby's is not the one that I have the problem with.
My God, could you imagine, though, if it were Katie Holmes and Nicole Kidman played Claudia?
What are you doing, Rob Marshall?
Rob Marshall. And then Carla could have been Renee Zellweger.
So he's just like, okay, open up the pocketbook.
Chicago Part 2. I mean, you can see the Chicago absolutely dripping all over this film.
Absolutely. He's like, oh, I know the best parts of Chicago. We can just do it
I remember why this won Best Picture.
Let's do it again.
So that's all the background info I have. Nothing else is very interesting. Weirdly, even though this is like more of a recent film, there's just like not that much to talk about.
Didn't make an impression.
This is the Avatar of musical theater.
I have to wonder if there's just anything in regards to the production company and who owned the production or the distributor.
That things were
Harvey Weinstein.
Things were signed away behind non-disclosures, perhaps.
There's too many women on this movie to have not had a problem. That's how I feel about it.
Because he did like very specifically go after Salma Hayek in Frida, right?
Yeah.
Which makes me nervous for Penelope Cruz if he has a type and playing a very sexualized character.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I swear She thanked him in a speech, but I don't remember what speech she...
Who, Marion?
No, Penelope Cruz.
Oh. So the week it opened, oh my God, I didn't even finish going through this.
You got so excited by the cast.
I got so excited about casting. We have to go back. Cinematography by Dion Beebe, who had won the Oscar for Memoirs of a Geisha. Edited by Claire, which Rob Marshall also directed Memoirs of a Geisha, which is crazy.
Really?
Edited by Claire Simpson and Wyatt Smith. Music by Andrea Guerra and Maury Yeston. Score and songs, respectively. Production company Relativity Media and Lucamar Productions. It's distributed by the Weinstein Company. It was released on December 18th, 2009, so right around Christmas. Its running time is 118 minutes. Its budget was $80 million, and it made $54 million. So a flop.
A floop.
A floop and a flop.
A flop.
But unlike West Side Story, I would say you don't need to go out and search for this film. Unless you have Tubi. It is free on Tubi.
I watched it for free on YouTube.
Oh, right on YouTube. She's right up there. So the week this goes wide, which is basically like the Christmas weekend. Here's what's in the theaters. At number 8 is 9. At number 7 is The Princess and the Frog. Number 6 is Up in the Air. Number 5, we have The Blind Side.
Okay.
Number 4 is It's Complicated. So we're right in the middle of that Meryl run at the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Squeakquel.
Oh, sure.
Which is the greatest sequel name of all time.
Oh, yeah. I still say that all the time.
It's true. Number 2 is Sherlock Holmes, the
Robert Downey.
The Robbie Downey Jr.
Boo.
And number 1 at the box office, we have Avatar.
I did not read ahead of front.
And in honor of it coming back this year, this is why we wanted to talk about 9, the musical that was in the theaters.
Their biggest competition.
Right, the biggest competition.
We're real Avatoons over here.
We are.
Sivako.
My Avatude is hot tonight, honey.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's enough.
I've never seen the movie, so I can't think of any more puns to fill in the joke here.
Perfect.
Great.
Well, let's move on.
Okay.
So I have to start us off and really just say that there was a part of me that I was like, maybe I gave this an unfair shot, right? Maybe this is better than I thought.
What was there a specific moment, or you were just like watch as it was happening, like
as
Tubi was warming up?
As Tubi was warming up, yeah, as it was playing the 6 minutes of ads before it starts moving.
Cranking
the old Tubi crank
to get it to get going. Yeah.
And about 15 minutes in, I was like, nope, this isn't it. I think there's a bunch of reasons why this isn't it. I think there's a few things it does wrong. I think it tries to be a little too Chicago. I think it tries to use the exact same formula and to a much weaker musical, honestly, in general. I just don't think the source material is nearly as good, obviously. I think I wouldn't even really say this movie's miscast. Like, I think all these actors are competent. I think they do a fine job, fine to good job. I don't love Daniel Day-Lewis, but like I don't care about the character of Guido, so that's not the role that I'm here to watch a movie about.
And he was like strong enough, and I would say like charismatic enough that at least you believed like at some level, like, okay, I can understand why this whole world is like tied onto.
Yeah, sure. I don't think his portrayal is what sunk it at all.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah.
I really think this movie is just like confused about how to get the story it's trying to tell across.
Yeah.
And I think it gets its wires crossed. So here's what I want to say.
It's its own way.
Here's my theory. Here's what I'm going to posit. The songs are all in Guido's head. Right? That we all agree. This is what he thinks they're singing about.
Yeah, like they are like having a conversation with him, and in his mind it's like, this is what they're trying to tell me right now. And it's because he's watching every performance. Feels like
the movie starts out as.
I'm trying to think if there's any counter examples to that, but as I'm running
I'll
through...
give you the counter examples.
Okay.
I feel like the movie starts out with the first few songs. You have the Penelope Cruz song, On the Telephone. You have the Folie Bergère song. And you have, I would even say Cinema Italiano's in this mix. Be Italian. I think these are all like his interpretation of their interaction with him. And then we move into like the Marion Cotillard songs, which I think are like her vision of like what she's saying or something. But they don't bounce back. Yes.
I think it's possible though. I hadn't thought about this before this moment. And my first impulse was to say, no, Louisa's songs don't fit that. But actually, I think that they could still, because her first song is her just being like, my whole deal is like, I am devoted to my husband.
Yeah.
He's great. He's weird. I'm here to support all of that, which I think is how he feels then.
Yeah.
And her second song is where she's like, you did mess up now. Like now I am not happy with you anymore.
Yeah.
And I think he gets it by that point.
So I would agree, except for the fact that there are 3 songs in this movie, the Nicole Kidman song and the 2 Marion Cotillard songs, where he is not an observer of the song. So every other song, he's watching the song happen. He is in the scene, and they're singing to a still version of him. And I don't like that it muddies the water, because in order to get this concept across, that they went in really strong on this, like, this is a stage. They're filming a movie, basically.
It's a movie. It's the movie set for the movie that he's trying to come up with.
Correct. Yeah. So that's all fine, but they like muddied it too much that I don't necessarily know who is singing. And you have to know if it's the character singing or if it's his version of the character singing. And that's where I have trouble with trying to understand who these characters are. And I don't even know if like anybody who's in this movie knows who's singing the song, to be honest. Because it's all a third part. It's all, what is it? Unreliable narrator. It's all like his point of view. So we don't even know what the truth of the matter is.
I came in to be like, I did watch it and it is bad, but now you're convincing me that this is good.
Wow! So, because that was not my goal.
because of the like their point of view, like they're like trying to like
because I didn't bother to think about it this hard, but now that you're raising it, it's actually really interesting the way this is staged, and the fact that we're asking this question is interesting. Now I think that I have the same problem with this as I do with like Fellini's justifications in all of his films, where he's like, but it's about a man who's a misogynist. It's not that I'm a misogynist, I'm portraying a misogynist. But like that is really interesting to use that the surreal realm, let's say, where those numbers happen, and to use Guido's positioning to tell us about the perspective of the song. I think it's really smart.
And I think also the way, like we've described 8.5 and the harem and just like that convention with the revolution happening within it, that has given me like a better understanding of like, oh, okay, then maybe I did like what they were doing on those numbers.
I would say that there is thought put into this movie. I don't think this movie is like they came in and they just started shooting. This feels like a movie where Rob Marshall was like, here's my vision. Obviously very heavily influenced by Chicago doing so well, and I'm sure the producers were like, just do Chicago
just
again
do Chicago.
because people ate it up.
Yeah.
I don't think it works as well because the songs in Chicago are those characters imagining themselves singing
on a stage.
It's their performance.
Yes.
It's hard in this because who is singing the song? That is the eternal question that I don't even know if I can answer.
I do think that I do agree that it is Guido's perspective, because even when they go back and forth between the real scene, they're just like talking. It's Nicole Kidman just talking.
Sure.
It's Louisa just telling.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we're supposed to be like, he's so creatively, like he's such a creative genius. There's always something, there's always a movie playing in his mind that like I kind of bought into that. I had more of a problem of like the actual set. It took me a while to be like, oh, that's the set of the movie that they've been playing in.
It's not until they destroy the set.
It's not until they destroy the set. Like I had to pick up the pieces because when they destroyed the set, I was like, oh, that was a real set.
Yeah, they needed something a little more like iconic on the set so that you would clock it in the first scene and like track that throughout the movie. Because I had kind of a similar like I didn't quite put it together till the very end. I think though, okay. So
okay.
So this is incredible. This movie is perfect.
This movie is actually incredible. No, it's not. It's not at all. Well, there's too many thoughts in my head. I think that.
What's the song that's playing though?
So an argument for all of the songs being Guido's head is that all of these songs are just about why the woman is in love with him, right? That's the content of every song. They pretend it's about all these very different relationships with very different women, but they actually aren't. They're merely all songs about different ways that these women are in love with him. So
every character is either are they a Madonna or are they a whore?
Yeah,
those are the two tropes.
We had a full count.
Sexy mix between. And
Saragina.
And so I like the idea that they're from his perspective because it is boring to me that all of these women are merely in love with. I mean, I guess not Lily, but otherwise, yeah. But Lily is like, I love you as a genius, right? I love you because you're so smart. I love the thing that you make. She is the Lancelot to his Arthur.
My God, we have such a wealth of
the Showgays
to fall back.
The Showgays universe.
Oh my God.
But okay, so if we wanted to make the perspective of whose mind is this song emerging from clearer, what would you do, Adam? Where would you stage these numbers as happening?
I would. I don't think
I would do this movie.
I don't think I would.
You have to do 9. That's part of the
Sorry, that's part of it.
I am a faculty member, and they decided I'm directing 9 at the college. Okay,
sure.
So in a movie format, the problem is that this movie I feel is supposed to like give a lot of reverence to like filmmaking.
Yeah.
Which we just watched La La Land. So there's a movie about like filmmaking. This movie is like the soundstage. The empty soundstage is the church. It's the altar. And I would say because none of us even realized that set was supposed to be the movie. I just would change all of these. Every location is like every song is a new location or whatever. Just give me the like aspect ratio change. And now I'm seeing like his Italian cinema version of whatever she's feeling.
I like that idea. Yeah.
I don't think this movie does enough of that to be, because like, okay, so let's go with the idea that this is like his idea for what the movie is. This would have to be one of the most boring films
movies
because every song is on the static set. Like there's no cinematography. It's the 60s and it's Italy and like what's around? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Yeah.
No coasts. No historic scenery. I wish it did more in terms of like celebrating I don't know that. Just like it doesn't feel like it's supposed to feel like it's like to some degree we're supposed to celebrate Italian cinema.
Yeah.
And I don't think this movie does, except for the weird sometimes we go into black and white and shot like the way the movie shot is a little different, but it still doesn't feel.
That's the thing. I think it's missing that magic of like the film magic as the like setting the surrealist. Because in Chicago, because it's set in like these like clubs, they all sing different songs, but it's their interpretation. Like we said, it's their interpretation of how they would perform it. Like I almost wish each song was a different either style of cinema or like a specific aspect ratio, or like it's them shooting a different.
I think the closest it gets is Cinema Italiano.
Yeah, that was like the only clear point of
visually.
view.
It's the most visually and sonically. It's the one that sounds like a pop song from the '60s in Italy, which is great.
It's making me think of there's an episode in the 3rd season of Westworld where one of the characters takes a drug called genre, and the whole deal is that it like changes your perception of the moment to like make it fit into a film of the genre that like somehow speaks to whatever's happening. Which don't watch all of Westworld just for that. It's not worth it. It's
high praise.
I like the idea. Season 1, amazing. If you want to just watch season 1, highly recommend. I like the idea of like, let's make use of the moviness of it. And I think it's like so many layers of meta. You were pointing out earlier that it's like, it's a film that then got a musical made out of it. Now we're making a film out of the musical. And it starts with Daniel Day-Lewis giving this little monologue about how like a film dies as soon as you try to capture it. And it's like a thesis being like live theater's better. Is like how the movie starts.
Yeah.
And then they prove that that's right. So they do in fact
it's fully couching it like
show. Yeah.
Like you're about to read my work, but I want
you to know it's bad. It's bad in this medium. It's bad in this format.
So fun.
And I think so I did like do a scan of the Wikipedia page because I was trying to understand Fellini, I was trying to understand more about like this versus the musical versus the Fellini, like all that jazz. And there was some review quoted that said something about it being oddly distant, and as I watched it then was like, I think that is spot on, that it's like you feel so removed from what's happening and like why you would care that like that is ultimately like if you're gonna make a movie that's just about sex, like you gotta at least get people's blood boiling. You know what I mean? Like why would we watch this?
Even the way it's shot, you feel so far from the songs. And Chicago
like
doesn't have this problem.
Far away.
Chicago, you're basically like front row of the audience and you're watching the cabaret act.
It feels like we're seeing so much of like the empty set in so many of these numbers. We're like not using it.
To reinforce the idea that it's like, this is a film.
There's one tiny figure in it. And I think the ultimate sinking of this ship is that there is not enough dancing.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
I would say 1.5 good numbers because I don't think Cinema Italiano is that good.
No.
But I think Cinema Italiano. Okay, we'll talk about it.
We disagree.
I don't think the music is good, but I think the dancing is really dynamic. So I think Cinema Italiano is fun to watch because the dancing is good and there's a lot going on and they're like making an aesthetic choice. And Be Italian is amazing because they filled up the whole. Because
it's a full.
They filled the whole set with dancers. And they're using sand in this way that would be like so exciting in a live theater, and somehow that translates. And like it's
very Pussycat
because
Dolls.
They're like it's very pussy.
It's very pussy.
It's giving pussy. Jesus, I'm so sorry, Mom.
That's gonna be the Instagram clip.
I just think that like that though works. It feels like because it's the most like a theater number.
Absolutely
for sure.
I almost felt like the only times we really saw like the convention of like the film were those screen tests, and obviously they were very important to the plot, like the emotional plot of the movie. So I almost was like, what if that first song of Luisa was that screen test, or like just stuff like that where it's like, give us more than just here's a wide shot of us filming. Like, no, girl.
Yeah. Well, let's talk. So we have to talk about Be Italian. Let's start with Be Italian.
Oh yeah.
So Be Italian. I do want to say the movie is called 9 for 2 reasons, allegedly. One is three reasons technically. Okay. One is when Fellini gave the rights for them to make the musical, he was like, you just can't call it 8.5. You have to call it something else. And so they were like, well, 9. So then they're reasoning when people ask them questions of why did you call it 9? Because you can't just say we rounded 8.5 up, because that would be ridiculous to answer with. These are the two things.
Into it. Say that.
Yeah. Okay. We rounded
That's
up.
what they would have done in 2022. But in 1982, they could not do that.
We didn't have TikTok irony yet.
No. There was no irony in media.
They hadn't invented irony.
They hadn't invented irony.
Adam didn't invent bisexuality yet and irony.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the two reasons they say was one was them adding all the music adds another half to 8.5, which makes it a full 9.
No, that makes no sense.
No.
And then the other thing that they talk about is how the character, who's the young Guido, is 9 years old. I don't think you're going to name the whole musical based on the character that comes into like 3 scenes.
I think
it doesn't get to talk.
I think Be Italian is a good place to talk about
9 years old?
Guido being 9, and this being a movie with 2 theses. One is he's still 9, and 2 is he sure does sleep with a lot of ladies. I think that if we think about that, it's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird to keep making your protagonist out to be a child and also have it be about all of his sexual desires.
Yeah,
it's really Arrested Development.
Yeah.
It's just like they keep coming back to the kid thing, and I think it's supposed to be like it was a very formative time for him, but we don't see enough of. We see a scene where he pays a sex worker to basically tell him about love, and then
get caught.
He gets caught by the church, and then his mom is like disappointed
and gets like.
And spanked. I refuse to believe that that's
gets hit
the rest of his life. That's all he's got to go on. That's it.
But also in the number before that, in the Folie Bergère, Lily comments on the fact that like, oh, what are you doing here? Like, Guido, you're only 9 years old. But then he like goes and dances with the dancers. So I don't know how like literal that's supposed to be, but I took that to mean like he was exposed to something like this from a young age. And I don't know if they're trying to say like, hey, his view of women's sexuality is really messed up because he got exposed to these things too young, or if that's not something they were thinking about. But I just wish that like they had at least made the young Guido like 14 or something that's like more of an age.
I said the same exact number. I was like, he's too young.
Too young.
She is like on the beach. Stacey Ferguson, aka Fergie of the Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah.
F to the E, R, G the I the E.
Glamorous.
She is basically writhing on the floor in front of them. And they're all probably about the same age, maybe like 9 to 11.
And all laughing like men at a strip club, like, what a gas! Like fully just already kind of understanding.
I don't think that's how men laugh at strip clubs. I'm so sorry.
I don't know. I've never been. So oh, wow!
Well, it's so funny that that's the parallel you draw, because then Marion Cotillard is at the strip club. She's the stripper at the end.
Oh.
Anyway,
this movie's good, actually.
This movie's incredible.
Yep, this movie's incredible.
The best
Absolutely.
movie we've ever watched.
Yep.
I felt uncomfy, and I maybe you're supposed to feel uncomfy. I don't think the movie thinks you're supposed to feel uncomfy. I think we were still in a time.
No, they were fully like, this is serving pussy. This is a sleigh.
Yeah, I think we were still in a time, and I'm not saying we're out of this time necessarily, but I think there was like more of like if an older woman has sex with a younger man, it's like, good job, you. If an older man has sex with a younger woman, nay, girl, it's bad. They're both bad. They're both not
bad,
good.
as it turns out. We discover post the discovery of irony and bisexuality.
Post 2009, we discovered that it's bad.
Yeah.
I do think that in so many ways this movie simply cannot survive the Me Too movement. One being its producer, another being that the level of like patience I have for like, this man's so brilliant, so you gotta let him like screw around with women bad. Is like it's truly on the floor. Like I'm not interested in any sort of concessions for his behavior because he is intelligent, and I'm also, or like talented or creative or whatever. And I also like don't, and this didn't need to happen for me too. I think this is just like me becoming an older person, but like just a movie about like a bunch of women like doing everything they can to like make him feel better. Like every interaction he has is about women soothing him.
Yes.
Yeah. We have seen this not the exact story, obviously, but like the troubled genius who can't like be fucking normal is so
and
tired.
The like, level of, oh my God, the level of like torment he has to go, oh, okay, I'm not going to cheat on my wife. God, can you imagine
but the only
world that asked me not to sleep with this reporter who's hit on me twice now?
The only thing
could ever have the willpower.
The only thing I will give 9 in general is that they don't end up together. Like Louisa leaves him. Louisa's like, no.
Well, at the end, she does show up.
At the end, she shows up. But also, is that real? Is she on the set?
See, okay.
What's a dream?
Now, here's the thing. This is now the second time Marion Cotillard teases at the end of a movie if it was real or not. Because in Inception, she does the same thing.
That's her whole deal.
That's her whole deal.
There is no Edith Piaf, as it turns out.
It's not for real.
There were 2 V's, and I took the roads less traveled.
Oh my God. Let's listen to a little bit of the
La Vie en Rose.
We've established that the song is a sleigh. Adam, Molly, Adam.
I know who that is, yeah.
Constantly kept questioning this choice of Stacey Ferguson, Fergie Ferg, for this role. Exactly.
Explain yourself.
I watched the movie. That's my explanation.
Did you not find it to be the most compelling number in the movie?
Okay, here's my thing about Be Italian. I think
don't believe in Italians. They're not real.
Don't be Italian. Try not.
It's imaginary. Here's my thing about Be Italian. Be Italian and again Cinema Italiano, which we're gonna have to talk about next because we've talked about it so much already.
Yeah.
They are the 2 songs that sound the most unique. They're the 2 that you could walk away from this movie and be like, oh, I remember kind of what that sounds like.
Yeah.
Everything else is so standard Broadway.
Yeah.
And not in a good way.
Talk saying it's like slow. It's like, yeah.
So I would say Stacey Ferguson again, iconic singer of
the Star Spangled Banner.
Absolutely. At the Lakers game. I think she got probably the best case scenario for this film.
Yeah.
And I would say it still was not.
I
totally disagree.
I think she's fine. I think she's fine.
But I feel that Stacey Ferguson has come to save us all.
She
is the only Madonna in this film because of the fact that she.
But also, this is my thing about this whole movie is like none of these women go through a character arc. None of these women have a change. None of these women are anything but the one note that they give.
That's not Stacey Ferguson's fault. How dare you lay that at her feet?
Yeah, she read the assignment. She said, "Okay, I know my stakes.
I can still be mad at it."
No.
Yeah,
but
not her. Don't put Stacey Ferguson into this.
I don't like her glower. There you go. I don't like the glower. That's the iconic bit of this performance.
Pat, have you seen the original Serafina from 8.5? Hold on.
No. I did not.
8 mesi. Or 8 mesi.
But Adam, I always thought that your issue was actually like Fergie. Like you think that like it should be better. It could have been better cast.
Sure. I mean, of course it could have. But you think that Fergie's the only person in the world who could have played this role? Is that what you're insinuating?
That's not what I'm insinuating, but I'm saying I thought she like shockingly excelled in this, and
No, I disagree. See, here's the thing. You are going in with the like, oh, it's because it's Fergie, I'm so shocked she did well. That you're this is the
don't say it. This
is the method of like going in with very low expectations and then you're pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it's a great method. She did
it. We are now looking at the original
Saragina.
I truly thought it was Divine, the first.
She looks like Divine. It's a cross between Divine and Bellatrix Lestrange.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Wow. So to say that she's glowering too much, I think is a real disservice to the research that Sarah Ferguson clearly brought to the role.
Stacey Ferguson, first of all.
Sarah Ferguson. No, that's a casting I want to see.
Doesn't deserve this. She did a whole career of being in the Black Eyed Peas just to set our expectations low enough to blow us away with this film. And I think you have to give her credit for that durational performance that she put in.
You can think that. I'll let you think that. You're
Will
more
you
than
not
welcome
allow
to
us to
think
have
that.
truly even one moment of joy in this?
You two are overpowering me anyway, so that can be the narrative for the pod.
I think we all know that that's what you're into, Adam. You wouldn't do this podcast if that's not what you were interested in.
She is okay. So this is 8.5 Saragina.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Well, let's talk about Cinema Italiano.
Let's do it.
I really love the song. This was when I was talking earlier about like tight rotation of 9. It was definitely the credits version of Cinema Italiano. It is, yes, it sounds so different from the rest of the music in the show, but like it felt justified because obviously she is a clear perspective of like, I am American. We think you guys are so cool. And these are the things that we love about like what you dictate in like Italian culture that like we love right now. And the movie is, the song is so pop. Like it's so just like fun pop, like very Paris Hilton Stars Are Blind vibes. Like just, it's just so fun.
It's like also, there's no like upbeat songs in this whole movie.
Yeah. That's also why I think these two are good. They have dancing because they are at least a little bit fast paced.
Yes, the BPM is over 45. Thank God. I think it's like a weird thing to add, right? Like it's based on a very famous film. So it's weird to add this entire character that doesn't exist in any other version. Not that they don't add things to movie musicals all the time just so they can like throw a song in to get nominated or whatever, but it's weird to add a whole new woman.
This also doesn't feel like it's like best original song. Like I don't think that they were aiming for that, do you? This does not have that kind of vibe to it.
Sure.
Yeah, because technically it's this song and Take It All, Marianne's second song that was original to the movie.
That would be the contender if we were going to put up for an Oscar. I think that it's cool, the idea of we're a bunch of Americans making this movie, and so let's throw in a song about the American perspective on this Italian filmmaking. I think Kate Hudson does like a surprisingly good job. It's like shaky at the beginning, but she hits some of those like closer notes.
Belts.
Really, she belts it.
This is the most she's ever looked like her mother, Goldie Hawn.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In the dancing,
Kate Hudson is so pretty. It's like it's unfair. It's ridiculous.
And she lost a guy in 10 whole days.
Just 10 whole days. Only 10. I think the costumes are really fun. I think the dancing is great. It just is in the musical Dark Ages for me. So I'm just not interested in the music.
Yeah, because it's that like poppy Italian, like do-do-do-do. Like it's
very
like
uninterested in that. Yeah.
I do think that like I think that no. I like that this number includes like men because I think that this movie is very like
too many women. Yeah.
I don't mean that.
Problem.
I just mean like,
are you sure?
This movie only sexualizes women. No. And for this one song, you can look at a man.
His mom's there, so it can't be.
That's true. Yeah. Sophia Loren, famous ugly woman.
Famous
we can't sexualize
woman.
Sophia Loren.
Yeah.
So RJ's ageist is what we're talking about right now.
We need to talk about it. We've been dancing around it for so many episodes.
Honestly, this is a come to Jesus moment. I like the song. I don't think this character is necessary. It absolutely could have been cut. But I'm not
but
mad
he needs to be so tempted to cheat on his wife one more time.
One more time. And he finally says no to that one.
Yeah.
The blonde.
The blonde
she's
American.
vapid, unlike Guido, who's very deep.
Yeah, I do like that. I like that because she's the one American character in this whole film that she's like, I just love the style of Italy. That's all I'm here for. I don't care about your films. I just like how they look, which is like, I don't know. I kind of like that's the way they went with the character.
You know what? That's true. That's how we are.
True. She's the one who she didn't study abroad in Italy, but she like went for a week and like felt like she got it. So when she came back, she was like,
she was me when I went to France.
Yeah.
And I came back and I was like, je voudrais un baguette. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just came back from France. Can I have the baguette from Panera Bread? Did we listen to the song already? Did I play it?
Let's do it right now.
This is Cinema Italiano.
I love the dark and handsome guys with the skinny little ties, dressing mud, looking out of sight. I love to watch them as they cruise with their pointy leather shoes, wearing shades in the middle of the night. Whatever Guido does, it makes me smile. He is the essence of Italian style. I love the glamorous Latin world that only Guido can portray. Continue cinema Italiano. I love his cinema Italiano. He makes me feel with cinema Italiano. My life is real with cinema Italiano. He is the king of cinema Italiano.
Folly Bergère very low down in my Follies ranking, I have to say. And
there wasn't a Follies like moment.
It wasn't a true Folly.
Like we didn't really get to take in costumes and enjoy them, because I think that also what's important to me about a Follies number is that there is the showgirl uniform, but then there's also the distinct costume, and we don't get the promenade of the costumes that are the moment, that are the distinctive, a champagne glass, if you will. Also,
a quarter,
it is sung by my arch nemesis.
We were gonna try and just skip past that, but old Doot is back.
Old Doot
came on back, and I would ask you two to defend her inclusion in this film, please.
So I think she's like fine, but I again am like, she's supposed to be French. It's very clear she's supposed to be a French character. She even does a French accent.
I'm talking about the character. I'm not Judi Dench's choice to not ever try to sing, even though they keep casting her in musicals.
Well, you got to take a check.
I just think that,
you gotta take a check.
I get,
Molly.
like, you're old and you're distinguished, but like you have to try if you're gonna take these parts in musical.
She didn't sing like when she was younger on the West End.
I don't know, but she's certainly not singing now.
I'm sure she did to some degree.
I feel like you told me this in Cats, and I don't remember now. Yeah.
I do think that like I'm not getting anything special that this role is played by Judi Dench, if that makes sense. Like I'm not like, I feel like if this was a different actress, I feel like I would get exactly what this character's supposed to give. Like she's kind of like her kind of surrogate mother now.
Yep. And she is, I feel like, in some ways, the worst character in terms of like just putting up with Guido's tantrums and just like placating him constantly, because she doesn't even have the excuse of being attracted to him.
Like she's employed by him. That's the only thing.
She's the second of all the women in this. I think she's the second highest screen time in this movie, which is like bonkers.
Because she can actually have a conversation with him, whereas he can't converse with any women he wants to sleep.
It's still it's the opposite of the what is the
Bechdel test.
The Bechdel test. It's the opposite, where they only have conversations about women. That's all their conversations are.
They are all named.
They are all named.
But do they ever have a conversation not about Guido?
It's true.
It's true.
No. That's to answer your question.
Shockingly, this movie does not pass the Bechdel test.
Shockingly. So surprised. Do any women ever speak to each other in this film? I don't think so. I'm thinking about it right now. There seems to be a familiarity.
They're all yes.
With Lily and Louisa.
Lily and Louisa have a brief exchange where it's clear that Lily asked Louisa to come down to help Guido.
Yes, but we never see them talking. It
doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
Because even in the movie scene at the end where she's watching the screen tests, she sits next to her, but it's like a
we see them actually exchange lines in the dinner scene. I'm sure of this. Lily says something like, "Thank you for coming down." And Louisa says like, "Yeah, I knew he needed me," or something like that. Like,
but it's still about a man.
Yeah. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying like they do actually have like an exchange of words, I believe. Yeah.
There is at least one line spoken to another from one woman to another woman.
That creates an exchange, one line to one line.
I cannot defend Judi Dench in this film.
She's like relatively like quote unquote the weakest for me because she is such just like a here are your lines, this is your role.
But also like it doesn't seem I'm curious to know if this character in the original is older. Because
older than Judi Dench is in this film? Or you're saying
just like an older woman character.
That Judi Dench is
because like Marion Cotillard originally auditioned for Lily.
Oh. I like the idea of there being one woman who like he understands he's it's like it's not that, but it's not about like, oh, she's too old or whatever. Do you know what? She should be a lesbian.
That's what I always thought the
Maybe
vibe
she
was.
is, but I think she should be a canonical lesbian.
Yeah. Will you forgive
just
Judi
like the
Dench?
Governors of Oregon and Massachusetts?
Absolutely.
Heck yeah.
Governor-elects.
So would that if this character was a lesbian, would you forgive Judi Dench?
What a complicated question.
I know.
Would you ever forgive this haircut that they gave to Judi Dench?
Oh, the haircut's not the problem. The haircut I love. I live for the haircut.
They literally were like,
it helps
give her the Velma Kelly.
I think that if she were a lesbian, if that were canonical,
then the haircut
and
works.
If it was about her simply not putting up with Guido, I would love for there to be one woman that did not put up with Guido in this film. That is the dynamic that I'm missing.
She does. No one
she
gives
puts up with him so much.
No one, even like Louisa leaving, she doesn't give him like like no one tells him who he is. He is supposed to discover it on his own or whatever.
Even when
it feels like to me.
Well, that seems like a weird critique. Like, how dare this woman not tell him who he is? But like,
even Carla asking for the script, she's like, "It's not my problem to tell her that there is no script. You gotta do it. Like, you gotta, whatever." And like, her just showing up and making costumes for absolutely no direction. She's just like, "Here's a pretty costume that you can wear."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's listen to a little bit of Folie Bergère. Let's listen to the spoken word poetry that is Folie Bergère.
Up next, Judi Dench performing spoken word. It's her All-Stars talent extravaganza. This piece is entitled Folie Bergère.
Folie Bergère. La musique, la danse, le son, la lumière. Les petits jolis scènes des belles bouquetières. Sur la belle passerelle de Folie Bergère. Pas de mystère. Le spectacle est tout à fait découvert. Et pas trop cher. Viens ce soir avec moi au Folie Bergère. Bonsoir, bonsoir, bonsoir.
We have 3 characters left to talk about because we're not talking about Guido. We're canonically not talking about Guido on this in this movie that's about
If you expect us
Guido Pirelli or whatever his name is.
Miracle Elixir.
Guido Contini. So we're gonna move on to Nicole Kidman, who plays Claudia.
Nicole Kidman,
the movie star,
has never looked better. She every time she has appeared, she looked incredible.
Yep.
Amazing. The gowns, beautiful gown.
I want to say this. She's wearing this white gown in this number. I'm going to shout out the costume designer who was nominated for an Academy Award. The costume designer's name is Colleen Atwood. I believe she's won before for other films. I think the costumes in this movie are immaculate.
I agree with Nicole Kidman's costume. I feel like Penelope Cruz's corset feels very like, oh, remember when we were like all into super lacy corsets in 2009? Like that one feels pretty dated. I wish you were wearing something different, but the Nicole Kidman costumes, impeccable.
Yeah.
Colleen Atwood did the costumes for Chicago.
Oh, sure. That makes sense.
And Sweeney Todd.
That also
Pirelli.
makes sense.
Pirelli.
Guido Pirelli. Wow. This is the scene that's like a bummer. Is like you have all these women who are everybody's like in love with Guido, and then like she literally comes in as the Deus Ex Machina, basically, and she's like, I too am in love with you, Guido. And I really wanted her to be like,
I know,
in an unusual way,
though.
But I am in love with
it. Yeah. I know. I almost, it was a bummer for her to be like, you never loved me in the way that I wanted, or like the way that it's real. Like I was always just like a whatever to you. And
yeah.
I almost wish that you like had ownership of that, of like, this, what we have isn't real. And you keep using me as a muse to try and like come up with like what you think love is every time we do something, but it's never real, you know?
I do think that the idea of that he's pursuing this ideal woman, I think that that's maybe clear in from what I've read of 8.5, that's like very, the whole thing is he's trying to like capture this ideal woman, and then his actress comes in and she is like, but I'm not that, I'm a real person, I think is like really great. I agree that it could be even stronger if it was like, there's actually nothing, like this is all just pretend and for art, and it's not like there's no real connection between us. I think it's also the most like plot strong number, right? Because this sets us up to then have the Louisa revelation of like, all this stuff between us when I was your actress was like maybe not as significant as I thought it was. And I kind of wish as a result that the Louisa Guido was not like, and then he realizes Louisa is the one he's been loved. Like I kind of wish it was like he realizes he didn't love Louisa either. Like I think that would be a stronger choice actually. And I think that somebody needs to make a splice up of Nicole Kidman's AMC ad and this
oh my god, she should have worn this gown for her ad and not the pinstripe suit,
or she should have worn the pinstripe suit in this movie. She should have had the foresight to do that.
I think
to be like, I'm not your ideal woman. And wear a suit.
I think it's like a, I don't know. Is it like the AMC monologue and then this? Is it this into the AMC monologue? Are they back and
feels
forth?
Good in a place like this.
It's gotta be like, it's gotta be a mega mix. Honestly,
unusual way. Heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
Perfect.
Yeah. So if you can put together that mega mix and submit it to Sidetrack, that'd be awesome.
Oh my god, that'd be great.
I wish they would take
moment.
It's surprising
they don't do
9.
Be Italian.
Yeah, they
at
should.
Sidetrack. I think Nicole's fine in this too.
And I'm proud for Catherine Zeta-Jones to be like, you know what, this role needs to be more.
I'm glad that Catherine was like, if it's not bigger than this, I'm good.
Yeah.
Maybe she saw the original movie and was like, okay, she makes this very good point, but that's not the point that's made in the musical, so I'm not doing
it. It does feel like that the whole point of the movie he's trying to make is like him coming up with the ideal woman. And I think that plot line is like, at least in this film, not part of it at all. And I kind of wish it was, because then it would at least explain why he's so fascinated by the women in his life. Because maybe it would be a better story of being like, he's trying to amalgamate from all of these influences, but like that's not clear.
It all feels implied, but not really there.
It almost feels like the original guy, Maury, was like, he took that and was like, oh no, that's misogynistic. Like I can't do that. That's so terrible. If I make this movie about trying to craft a perfect woman, that's awful.
They should have had Guido give the Little Women monologue where she's like, and I think women. That monologue I think would have been great for this film. No notes. Well, let's listen to a little bit of Nicole singing Unusual Way.
In a very unusual way, one time I needed you. In a very unusual way, you were my friend. Maybe it lasted a day, maybe it lasted an hour, but somehow it will never end.
I gotta say, before we move on to Carla, the lyrics of this musical are just like first draft energy for sure.
Look at the fireworks. Yeah.
Look at the fireworks. Absolutely. which is funny because that's from Lin-Manuel, who like is very famously now like everybody's like, oh, he puts so much thought into his lyrics.
Yeah.
And that was his first
Not
musical, and that's fine. Not all of them. You can't win them all, but like we'll get to the song later that I think is like the most egregious, but like all of these songs, if you like read them, you'd be like, these are just
have you heard of subtext? Have you tried it? Yeah.
These are lines. They don't even rhyme.
What about a metaphor?
Yeah.
Have you ever tried that? Hyperbole? To dip our toe in?
You think there's a worse song? Because I think this is the one that's probably like pretty bad.
I think my husband makes movies.
Yeah,
is the
I guess
worst
that is very
song.
clear.
Yeah.
My husband makes movies. He goes to set and directs the camera.
Honestly,
But
also
here.
Take It All is like there's I guess a visual metaphor in the scene, but it's like the most obvious one you could pick.
Obvious,
Okay, but here I'll get us out of here. I'll explain it so that now you love it, because this is my through line for the episode.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
So Italian cinema, famously, they did not like they didn't capture audio on set. So the lines were dubbed in post.
Oh.
So especially in Fellini's films, they would basically like he would like have music playing on set, and they would like, he said that they wouldn't dance to it, or they wouldn't dance to the music on set, but they would like move in rhythm basically. So they would like, everything would be very fluid and languid and like legato in that way, so that it gives the like romantic energy of Italy, allegedly, or whatever. Yeah. And then in post, that's when they would like figure out what the story is specifically and put those lines in.
Oh.
So if we're going with the theory that Guido, who makes films in a similar way to Fellini,
not the same person. Similar.
But they are, yeah.
The characters rhyme, let's say. If we're going with the theory that he is also a maestro of Italian cinema, he doesn't care about the words first. He's more about the feeling that's being evoked. So maybe in his creation of the song as it's happening, he just isn't he's just giving the first draft of whatever the lines are in the song. There's my excuse for why the lyrics all suck.
Your explanation has now made me 180 and again feel that this film sucks, because I'm not. My patience for this analysis has now run out.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now.
Good. Carla, any thoughts about Penelope Cruz as Carla? And her song, in case we don't remember, is Call from the Vatican.
Now that's funny.
Yeah, I think that's a cute setup.
Yeah.
I think this character is very sad, honestly. I mean, she tries to commit suicide. I'm not like being so like insightful with that commentary, but
I think it's really sad.
Wow, you think Penelope Cruz plays a sad character in this? Okay,
yeah,
interesting. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. I just like the convention of like the mistress who's just like an inconvenience is just, I don't know. It's just like one of the saddest fates that I feel like a woman can end up in. And and it was just like never in the stars for her, because I don't think she's an actress, right? I don't think it's clear. I don't remember there being any I don't know how they met or like how all it started, or
I think she's just his mistress. I think that's that's
and it's so clear that he's like sick of her, like not interested anymore, like, you know, I just think that's
willing to use her just for her body, and that's truly it.
But I even think it's like kind of implied like that's getting boring. Like I think that's why he's tempted by Stephanie.
Yeah,
a character named Stephanie in this movie about Italy. I love it.
It's like Stephanie Ferguson,
our favorite Black Eyed Pea. I think the song is good in that, like, I think it's like done well, and I like the setup, and I like how sensual it is. And I do remember being in the theater and being like, I'm like kind of embarrassed. Like, it's so sexual that I was like she like, if the strap on the thong was any thinner, we'd see roast beef. Do you know what I mean when I say that?
Sorry. We're in Italy. We would see Genoa salami. Prosciutto.
That's why people use Italians as metaphors for sexiness, is because the language is so good for it. I mean, roast beef,
beautiful.
Gross. And we got to see a little bit of prosciutto. Now I'm intrigued. Now I'm interested.
I think Penelope does great. Her character is very sad.
I do love the performance of the song. Yes, there is also like still like bad use of lyrics, but I think like sonically, like the melodies of the song is like very. It plays around with the like throws of ecstasy up and down that I really like a lot. Especially when she growls, when she goes Guido. It's so good. I was obsessed with that. I would rewind it over and over again.
Well, let's listen to a little bit of it.
Who's not wearing any clothes? I'm not, my darling. Who's afraid to kiss your toes? I'm not your mama, dear. Is blowing into your ear, so you'll get it loud and clear. I need you to squeeze me here and here and here.
Dottore, his pulse.
So I think the interesting part of the Carla Claudia Louisa situation is that Take It All was originally written for this film and it was supposed to be a trio from the three of them to Guido. And they ended up just having it be Marion, which I think works fine.
I also showed Adam the stage version of A Call from the Vatican too, as a comparison. Jane Krakowski in the revival.
Oh, okay.
And she descends down on a silk.
Yeah.
And then sings on the table that he's taking the call on and fully visibly has an orgasm and says like, that'll be enough for now. And then at the end when she says Guido, she goes back ascends on the silk.
A Madonna, if you will.
But legs first, ascending.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it doesn't say in the Bible how Mary ascended. We don't know. She's like peacefully being.
This is so funny. My mother literally just arrived back from a Marian pilgrimage, and now I'm talking about what body part did ascend first.
It all connects, RJ.
All connects.
That is what it's like to be a Catholic. It's just everywhere.
It's everywhere. Just like the women are everywhere in Guido's life.
So the women. So
Carla?
Penelope Cruz has just that song. So she gets nominated for Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars for this role.
The only performance.
The only performance that gets nominated from this film. However, critically acclaimed, everybody's favorite performance in this movie across most critics' consensus is Marion Cotillard.
Yeah.
Including moi.
Including me, probably including Molly, I would maybe assume.
For sure. If I was going to put someone up for an acting Oscar, it'd definitely be her. Yeah.
So this is where we get into the Harvey of it all. So Harvey, very famously, he campaigned his movies really hard. He was kind of the first person to start doing that, and that's
an innovator. Wow, we should all listen to him for sure.
So he created the culture that is like currently the thing,
like
for your
awards
consideration campaigns.
Yeah.
So he didn't want Marion to run in Best Supporting because he was worried she would take the nomination from Penelope. So he ran her in leading, but she's not the lead in this film.
You could say out of all of the women, she was probably like the lead.
Right, but the women are.
But the women are not leading roles.
Correct.
They are objects, not subjects. I did, by the way, reread the essay that we get the male gaze from for this. But anyway, Marianne.
So anyway, she's not nominated, and I'm kind of bitter about it because I think she probably could have had a good chance of winning because I do think she's very good in this movie. Yeah. I do think on the whole this movie is not great, but I am very impressed by her performance in this. I would like to talk about her two songs.
First, I will quickly point out, if you did want to do all of the women's songs, that we totally skipped over the mother song. I don't have anything to say about it.
I don't really have anything to say. I guess just in relation to Carla, because the song plays while he is having the conversation with Carla after she just tried to commit suicide.
I didn't pay any attention to it during this movie. That's also really smart. Okay.
Now she's back, baby.
She's back.
Now I'm back.
Yeah. So like it was full. Yes, wasn't listening to the music, but it was like, this is very, very crazy that like now it really is Arrested Development. He keeps reverting back to like his mother when he's faced with like, oh, I'm not prepared for this.
I think the only thing I want to say is I wish that there were fewer. I mean, I wish there were fewer slow songs just like for my own entertainment, but also I wish that there were fewer slow songs so that his mother's song felt like it stood out more.
Yes, absolutely.
For sure.
Just like a quick glance in time, this was the year that Monique won for supporting an actress and Sandra Bullock won for The Blind Side and Best
The
Leading.
Blind Side, that's right.
And this was a tough leading actress. There was Helen Mirren, Carey Mulligan, Gabrielle Sidibe, Meryl Streep. The one time that I had watched all of these movies and performances.
And Monique was in. It was
Monique
Pushed by Sapphire.
Yes,
Precious. Based on
Pushed by Sapphire.
Absolutely.
So I think Monique probably still would have won, but
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. But she definitely would have gotten the nomination if she was the one that was chosen.
Oh, for sure. So Louisa.
Mm-hmm.
Louisa Contini.
Classic wife of a genius role.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it before and it's won Oscars before. Rachel Weisz, like The Theory of Everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trope that we see a lot, for sure.
I like the idea that her first song, My Husband Makes Movies, is from, if we're going with the idea that it's all his idea of what they're I like that concept for that song, because the idea that she's just like, my husband's a genius, my husband makes movies, my husband blah blah blah, I have no life outside of my husband.
A much worse version of Kathy's song, what is the one?
I can do better than that.
Circles. Yeah, I can. No, I can do better than that. The one that's I will not be the girl stuck at home in the birds, the baby, the dog, and the
Climbing Uphill.
Climbing Uphill. A much worse version of Climbing Uphill.
Absolutely.
For sure. See our last 5 years episode.
But like just that part, just the bridge part of Climbing Uphill, like at the end where it devolves into like, oh, this is what you actually mean. Like you are actually frustrated about him.
No, but it's not. It's without the bridge. She's not frustrated at all. She is only patient with him.
That's true. That's true.
It's goodbye until tomorrow.
What I do like about the song is there is a kind of really small, subtle, slow build into the last part of the song that it makes it like charged of like, this is the conflict as to why I am frustrated by it, but at the end of the day, like he's still my husband. And I think like because it's Marion Cotillard performing it, like she does that really well because she does a great job of kind of doing that very small, tight acting, like that. It works for me, like because it's her. But the song is just
the thing that I like about her performance in this movie is I think she brings this tone of melancholy to this character that I think is very similar to what I said when we watched Mimi and St. Louis, why like Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. I think there's something important about the tone of melancholy in musicals because it's the reason why everything is like nostalgic, almost like you're longing for a time that doesn't exist anymore, basically. And I think in that regard, maybe that's why she is singing about like she's trying to convince herself of the good times with her husband. When she's like crying in the bed, I can't don't get that off my screen. I don't want to look at that. That upsets me. I'm bothered by that. I don't need to see
like
that.
Being around women who are having emotions.
It's disgusting. Oh.
For me, it was all her like little, like these like little explosions, just to like express a little bit of the frustrations, but knows that she doesn't want to go all the way. So like when she, sees Carla and she just like storms off and like is frustrated at herself that she thought that it was like real, but also like frustrated at him, obviously. And
I just want to give her like a Gen Z t-shirt that says dump him. Like, I just
For sure.
She's doing a great job. I just wish that this character wasn't this.
I wish she does. She does dump him.
Yeah.
She takes the advice.
She does it.
Maybe her friend, maybe her quote unquote best friend shouldn't be someone that's employed by him.
Yeah.
Boundaries.
Because even she was
what if people in creative fields learned boundaries?
Too bad.
That'll never happen in our lifetime.
That's the first thing they teach you when you
in theater school is don't have boundaries. We're about to discuss things in this classroom that do not belong in an academic setting. Yeah.
And then you know what? Years later, women just feel comfortable changing in a dressing room. We're just like, oh yeah, it's backstage. It's fine.
So, but to move on to
Take It All.
I don't like this song. And the only reason I think I don't like this song, I think it's like fine song, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I feel like because the song is like her stripping and it's like very angry. It's like a very angry song.
Yeah.
Totally understandable. I think it completely undercuts the scene happening because she's having this like very sad, intense, dramatic moment.
Yeah.
And like it keeps cutting back to her like taking her clothes off and stepping on men and them like feeling her up. And like, not to say that that's whatever, but more like I feel like the scene gets lost because you're bouncing between two totally opposite things happening that she's angry in the scene, but like I didn't like the way that it was like, okay, we're going to represent just the anger because there is like sadness in the anger. And maybe because they were like earlier in the movie, she already did the sad song. Angry song. I think she gives a really good performance in that scene with Daniel Day-Lewis.
Absolutely, yeah.
And like it's very raw. And I think the really big thing I like about Marion Cotillard in general and every performance I've ever seen her in, she's not a realistic actor. Like it's not like Meryl where she does the tics to make you think like she's coming up with the words on the spot. Like she's like acting. And all of her little touches like are very controlled, but it still feels like a real perforence that I'm watching. If that makes sense.
It's like in her eyes.
It's like between real and performative.
I think it's in her eyes. Like I feel like she's looking like she's staring daggers at you during the monologue scene. And yeah, I do wish I could just cut out the parts of the song and just see the scene in its entirety. To see her fully make the realization, get up, and then him trying to stop her and then making that final
maybe what I really wish is that the song had somewhere to go, but the song is one note the whole time. It started
where it was going to end up already. And I do think that like they made the conscious decision of like, for this song, we're going to show the two
back
parts.
And forth, yeah.
Like we are going to show that she's angry inside because that's what she really feels. But in the moment, she's figuring it out. And I'm like, yeah, but I like the figuring out part. I think
wish the song effective. And the scene had the same journey together. I wish she started the strip sad, maybe. Like you could still do the strip, I guess. I don't necessarily need it, but
start with a sad twerk.
I do think it's interesting that
drop from Drag Race UK, just and then be empowered at the end. Because I do like the end of like her
leaving
and showing her breasts and like her kind of body surfing like through the crowd of rowdy men and him having to watch. Like
very
almost
cuckold.
Like, I was about to say, like just introducing the world to cuckold.
Rob Marshall came up with it in 2009.
I mean, objectifying women and objectivity, and I mean, I just think I appreciate that you both, I feel like, watched this movie more carefully than I did.
Okay.
We did finish it an hour before we started this podcast.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's such a like male perspective on female sexuality, and it's such a using it all as a metaphor and as an object, right? For Guido's subjectivity. As I said, I reread. Hold on, let me say the name. Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema by Laura Mulvey. And
Visual Pleasure. Wow.
I just think it's like, I just hit this point by the time that we got to this number where I was like so fed up with the whole thing, the whole packaging of the movie, the whole way that it is just using women to explore the psyche of the man, that I had kind of tuned out and I wasn't paying attention. And I think you're right. They probably she does a great job. And I'm glad that you're giving her props. But like, I don't have anything to add because I was not engaged by this point.
Yeah, it does feel like using her in that scene, like the way they were like, okay, well, she'll strip during it. is just like another way to be like,
it's like, oh, what if sex was the metaphor? Like, as if that's not been the whole. What a way more interesting choice would have been literally any other metaphor here.
yeah.
Or it's like, this is how she expresses herself through her body. I'm like, yeah, girl.
This is the one song where it's not his perspective and it is actually her actual emotions, and she sings it like they don't do the conceit.
Yeah,
right?
make
they
it
don't
like
put it in a thing, and she sings it in the moment. Like
yeah,
that would be wild.
interesting.
And she breaks his illusion.
Yeah.
With her song.
Huh.
Or like starting it at the strip club and then fully like.
I just don't think we need the strip.
No,
RJ really wants
or
the strip.
No. Starting the
RJ
strip club.
is just like, he just wants to see some titties. That is his whole thing.
Because all the men there going, oh man.
You know that classic
well,
laugh.
this sure is a show, huh? Don't you think?
No, starting in the strip club because that's the what's in his mind, and then her like literally leaving the building and then walking to the theater and like being in the theater in that screen test going no
song.
Yeah, or just like what if not breaking the fourth wall but breaking his fourth wall of
breaking
like,
his illusion.
Yeah.
I think again with the idea that we had earlier of like exploring different film genres in the different numbers, that if they had done a little bit more of that and then this could be sort of the least stylized thing, I think that there definitely would be like an avenue to.
Because I think that this is the place of the La La Land audition number. This is the maybe this time. This is like that slot of song of like the self-discovery song.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's technically his song, but we're just not gonna.
Oh my God, I forgot he has that song after this.
I think
I truly thought that movie ended when this song was over.
It basically does.
We just turned it off. Yeah.
We just turned it off.
Anyway, blah 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 blah. All that to say, I think she's still good in this, and shout out to her. Yeah. I really don't want to talk about Guido. Does anyone have anything to say?
I wanted to say about Otto y Mezzo is that I think based on reading the Wikipedia summary, and I will confess, I probably could have tried to find the whole movie, but I just watched YouTube clips and I like couldn't find. So the like actual ending of the iconic ending of the movie where there's all these people in black and white and they do this circle and they go around this sort of like carnival-ish looking set. That's on YouTube. So I watched that a couple times, but I couldn't find a clip of the scene with him and Louisa before that. But from what I understand, the thing she tells him is about how he's tormented because he's trying to do this all in isolation. And what he needs is like his whole community around him, which I think is a much more interesting idea of like a movie about like, I'm trying to find my ideal woman. I'm trying to like amalgamate all these women in my life. And it's so like about me and my personal psyche. And then to say like, bust that open and like it's not just about that, it's about like a way bigger community of people around you and you need to create art collectively is like a way
you're not the center of the universe, right?
Yeah, it's like a way cooler idea. Now I don't know, I think I'm maybe interpreting some of like that summary in a direction where I want to dig the film and maybe not what Fellini was 100% doing, but I think that that's way more interesting. And it doesn't seem like from the summaries I've read it's about him and Louisa as like this is the only real, I mean, maybe it is because she's like the person who can kind of speak to him ultimately, but I don't really think that like turning it into what's ultimately just like a husband and wife tale is like the strongest choice for, if we have to take the conceit of like, we're going to do a movie about this troubled director and all the women in his life and how he's kind of almost tormented by them, just turning it into, but the point is, holy matrimony sure is great. Like, I just don't think that's the most interesting thing to be exploring at the end of the film. I feel like there's so many other directions we could have taken it other than like, and then in the end, I try to get my wife back.
Yeah. And I think too that like, I never got a real sense through watching the movie that he actually wants that. I really did.
I think you're supposed to, in that he is making a movie about two people reconciling their differences. That's the movie at the end of the movie that he's making.
But RJ's talking about before that, like
up to
the movie he's originally making.
Yeah. I don't think he knows what he's making.
He doesn't know what he's making. That's for
sure.
But
it's just that thing of like, you don't know what you have until it's gone. And it's like,
and Louisa doesn't come in until like a third of the way through, I feel like. Either. Like, I wish if they wanted it to be, oh, actually it's all Louisa, like he's seeing reflections of Louisa and these other people or something, then like have her be the one who kisses him at the beginning of the movie. I mean, it starts with Nicole Kidman kissing, right? It's like she feels very much up until the end like she is just one of 7 women. And then all of a sudden they're like, but you should have known she was important because they did get married in a church, or so. Like, do you know, like it's very heteronormative at the end of like what it's about.
Italy
is hang out with your wife. Like, what a silly conclusion. Who cares?
Yeah, like that wasn't the answer that you were trying to lead to. Like,
so Molly's take is fuck wives.
Yeah.
Damn.
She said that before.
In all senses of the term.
Yeah. Great, perfect. I think Daniel Day-Lewis is fine, and I don't care enough about his songs to bring up either.
And shockingly, Daniel Day-Lewis is fine.
There is a scene where he like puts his shirt on, and I was like, he's way more cut than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah,
and I was like, wow, wow.
Yeah. It's just Guido is so annoying that I don't want to talk about Daniel Day-Lewis, but like, yes, he does a good job, and he is.
But also, I don't want to talk about Daniel Day-Lewis because he's also annoying because like he won't be out of character ever.
Yeah.
But I will say, if you like Daniel Day-Lewis, you should watch Phantom Thread. This is for the listener. Phantom Thread is a really good movie. It's a dark comedy.
Phantom Thread the musical.
Phantom Thread the musical would be amazing. It's Paul Thomas Anderson directed. Came out 2019, 2018, I think. Anyway, it's very good. He's in it.
It was allegedly, it is currently his final.
It's his final film currently, until he decides he wants to do another film or needs more money.
I watch you rise, I watch you fall, while I am standing with my back against the wall. Now it's your turn. You had your fling, you wanted more than everything. You got your wish, you got your prize. Now take it right between your thighs. You grabbed for everything, my friend, but don't you see that in the end there will be nothing left of me.
Well, we have to discuss what people have been saying about the movie. So, Owen Gleiberman from Entertainment Weekly. I'm going to start again. We have to discuss what people have been saying about the movie. This movie has a 39% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Shout out to that. Owen Gleiberman from Entertainment Weekly says, the women, however, are spirited and sexy. Cruz performs a mock bump and grind with real heat, and Fergie, as an oh-so-Fellini-esque beach drifter, turns herself into a wild electric siren.
Bump and grind.
If only the lyrics weren't so awful. Cotillard, a lovely presence, is martyred by having to sing such gems as, my husband makes movies to make them he lives a kind of dream in which his actions aren't always what they seem. No wonder Day-Lewis looks like he's having stomach trouble. He spends most of 9 as a haunted spectator, and you want to tell the guy to lighten up. The movie Guido is trying to dream doesn't look like much fun, and neither is 9.
Apt. Yeah, apt.
And then Mike LaSalle from the San Francisco Chronicle, he says, another huge problem is that Marshall imports a strategy he used in Chicago that simply does not work here. In 9, all the songs take place in an imaginary world. When the songs begin, the camera moves to a stage set, and we see the featured character in a production number accompanied by dancers. Now, in Chicago, that approach was fine for 2 reasons. 1, the songs were real expressions of what the characters were thinking, and 2, the songs moved the story along. They were active. They paralleled stuff going on in the real world, so that by the time the song was over, the story would be advanced, if only a little bit. But in 9, neither of these is the case. Most of the numbers don't express what the characters are thinking. They express what Guido thinks the characters are thinking, and for a great artist, he doesn't have much of an imagination. Also, because they really are just musical versions of his ruminations, they're static in terms of story. Each time someone sings one of these awful songs, the movie comes to a crashing halt.
Yeah. And what Guido thinks they're thinking is, here's the way that I am in love with you.
Yeah.
It is the problem that I have with Hamilton, where the women characters can all be summed up by singing in union. Me, I loved him. That's what all the women characters are about.
Oh my God, I've never. Wow.
Yeah.
Think on that,
I
everyone.
loved Lynn. But
I'm not trying to come for Lynn on the whole. No. He's obviously great. I should just to clarify for everyone, this is not a Judy Dunn situation.
Was that the article that you were telling me earlier that like this sums up kind of what I think is wrong about the movie.
Yeah. So on Letterboxd, here's what the plebeians have to say.
Our favorites.
Sean gave a half star and said, "This is a movie for people who think Olive Garden is real Italian food."
Oh, so good. Such a good burn.
Aaron Beiser gave it 2 stars and said this whole movie felt like a very long misogynistic Chanel commercial.
Absolutely. That is
Very
absolutely
much.
I would change it to be a Gucci commercial, but sure.
I think it's the Nicole Kidman that makes it Chanel.
I think it's too understated still for Gucci.
That's true. And then my favorite one is Lauren gave it 2 stars and says the perfect movie to be watched on a Friday night with your loved ones, parentheses, if you're the Gotti family.
That is so funny. Written in 2019, the Gottis.
Wow.
Well, was that the year the John Travolta Gotti movie came out?
Yeah, that was like only on like IMDb Plus or whatever.
Yeah, I don't even think I know. Yeah.
Well, let's go to our MVPs. I think we're all probably going to say the same thing, but I'll go
Samantha
first.
Ferguson.
The real life person, Federico Fellini.
Yeah, absolutely. A true MVP.
I'm going to say Marion Cotillard.
I was going to say the same thing.
Okay,
You want me
Molly,
to talk
I'll
so you
let you
don't
go.
have to?
Yeah.
I mean, I do genuinely think Fergie is good in this movie, but I'm actually going to say Nicole Kidman.
Oh, wow.
I think that her capturing of the starlet who is like so
Over it.
glamorous and everything, but is also critical of like, she
What
gets the
she's
best
doing.
line when he says the thing about like, it's the woman behind the man, and she says, "I'd rather be the man." I just think that that's great. So I'm going to give it to Nicole.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that thing of like, because she's so successful in the game because she knows that it's a game.
Yeah,
You know, and
and
so
it's
she, like,
and
plays in
like
the
it's so
roles.
meta good because Nicole Kidman like so is that level of glamour and star, you know. So
Yeah.
I loved seeing what I felt like were in some ways very real emotions for Nicole Kidman about that role that she's been cast in.
Mm-hmm. I would also say Marion Cotillard, specifically just some of her pronunciations, because like we said, it was not hidden that she was French. They just gave her like a slapdash.
I do also love that I feel like every time we've said her last name, it's been just a hair different from the last time that we've said it. Yeah.
Marion Cotillard.
I love Marion Cotillard. She's great in this.
My favorite Marion Cotillard line reading is, "It's exhausting."
It's exhausting.
I love that. That is amazing.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
I would also maybe like to give honorable mentions to the costume designer Colleen Atwood and whoever did the
dress, the Chanel dress.
The Chanel dress, but also whoever did the dialect coaching for the film, because I'm sure they had a lot to do.
Yeah,
that was the thing. Adam and I kept being like, okay, I think it's purposely saying like these are all the women are from different places, because if Sophia Loren's the only Italian woman and they changed everyone so that way it's like she's not actually French, she's British. She's not actually Italian.
That is in City of Women. One of the things that happens at the feminist conference is that they show a documentary of a woman who has, I think it's 6 husbands. And part of it is that they're all from different countries. But one of them is Italian, and everyone's like, what? An Italian man.
He would fall for this.
It's a moment.
But yeah, I think the Nicole Kidman one was the most curious because she started talking and I was like, okay, she's not doing an accent.
But I think
and then started doing the Italian accent. I was like, oh wait.
Yeah, but I think Nicole is not great with an accent. I think she's had accent trouble before in films.
I think also I read something that the character is supposed to have, that Claudia is supposed to have an Italian last name, and they changed it to Nielsen for this movie, potentially because they wanted to not be quite so obvious.
Specifically Italian.
Yeah.
Because even with Luisa, it's like, I think they leaned in that she's Spanish, but I don't know if she's actually Spanish.
Luisa or Carla?
Carla, sorry.
Yeah. Carla. Molly?
Let's do our closer. I'm hyped for this one. Snake draft. Which of these women do you want on your side in a bar fight?
Okay. Remind us the snake draft.
Snake draft means it goes up and then back down.
Up and down.
Okay. So who goes first?
I'm gonna say that. I have no idea. How do we decide who's first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Saragina.
Of course, that's the only correct answer, really, ultimately.
You can go, Molly.
I'm gonna say Lily, but only if I can make her canonically a lesbian.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that can be done. I'm gonna pick Stephanie because it'll be fun.
I think she's scrappy. I think that's smart.
Absolutely.
And then you get another pick, RJ.
Okay, then I will pick Louisa. Because she'll keep us very grounded.
Yeah.
She'll be the one to be like, guys, it's not worth it. Let's go home.
I'm going to take Mama. I think she's going to surprise everyone. Yeah.
I was going to take Mama because her disappointment stuck with him so long that it tormented him for
and everyone's
years.
Going to feel bad about attacking Sophia Loren, right? So, yeah.
Obviously.
Use that to your advantage.
Are there 6? 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, there's 7.
Oh, who did we not say?
We haven't said Carla or Claudia. Actually, that's kind of a crime that we haven't picked Claudia yet.
I don't think they would fight you if you had Claudia, because they'd be like, oh my God, that's Claudia Nielsen.
Yeah.
I would pick. I think Carla would run away, so I'll pick Claudia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Carla's the worst pick.
Choice,
for this situation.
Exclusively for this, yeah.
If it's the Oscars, clearly Carla.
I pick Carla before Guido, though, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, upper body strength, though.
Yeah, but
he was. Do you think he worked out just so he could sing that first song in the scaffolding, like climbing up and down that?
Maybe.
I didn't even remember that he did that. Wow.
His first number was in the scaffold.
Oh my God.
Now, if he was building the set, I would have loved to be like, oh, okay, he's creating the movie in his mind. No.
I don't think the boy needed to come back at the end. I also,
that was maybe my favorite part is that the boy.
Yeah, it was trying to like basically like come to terms to like, no, we got this. I don't know.
I wanted the boy to be done because I wanted him to be like, and now I've let the adolescent part go, and like I don't need to be this child anymore. I felt like he was like, and now I'm just gonna own it, and I am a man.
I'm an adult. Yeah.
No, I think that the idea of a movie that to be creative means you must sort of like feed your inner child and keep that imagination, I think could be a very beautiful movie. It would be a very different movie from this one.
Yeah.
But that is a better idea. And so therefore I like it. Yeah.
Sure. I don't think that's what this movie is saying at all, but I love that concept. That's beautiful.
Which he has to live in sort of a dream. Adam, I know that these lyrics are really heavy and metaphorical, so let me say them to you one more time so you can think of it. He lives in a kind of dream in which his actions aren't always what they seem.
Oh.
Do you see? Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. When you put it that way, that's right. It just lays it out.
Yeah. That way, maybe Fergie is the MVP of the film. Okay.
Amazing job, Serafina.
We got to get out of here, so let's go out on the best song in the movie.
My husband makes movies. To make them, he lives a kind of dream in which his actions aren't always what they seem. He may be off to some unique romantic theme.
Thank you.
Getting high up there. Yep.
It's exhausting.
Bye.
Oh, it's exhausting.
Thank you for listening to the best revival of a podcast, Showgays. You can find us on social media. Adam is at Adam Noecker on Twitter. RJ is at RJ Food Rocks on Instagram. And Molly is at Molly Matiny on Instagram. This episode was edited and mixed by Adam Noecker. This has been an Ampliverse production. You can find our show page and more information at theampliverse.com. If you'd like to send us your own takes on the movie we just watched, reach out to us via email and we might read it aloud on the show. Our email is showgaysmoviemusical@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your podcasts. And as always, rate, review, and subscribe to help others find the show. And now, as always, the show must go on, so stick around to hear what we're going to be watching next episode.
Once upon a time lived the greatest inventor that ever there was, Geronicus Jangle.
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas indeed! Jangle, for the last 30 years, you've been promising something sensational. I need more time.
Either come up with the money you've borrowed by Christmas, or show me the revolutionary invention you once promised.
I would lose everything.
What's wrong, Grandpa?
I had a perfect life. Loving family
in a magical shop till an old friend took it all. But he didn't get this.
Young lady, if I know anything about your grandfather, there's something sensational in that.
Wow. I'm Buddy.
Whoa! I'm actually flying!
If I have that toy, I'll be unstoppable. It's foolproof.
You are proof that there are fools. Fools, 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 fools.
This is the only place where I've ever been where I finally felt like I belong. We have to get Buddy back.
I know about losing things, but the magic's in what you still have.
Get out the way!
Are you all right?
Yes! Yes!
We waited for this
No matter who you are, no matter what you do, the magic lives inside of you.
Everything we wanted is happening right now. This magical day. Let's all get right
now. Discovering voices, building worlds, the Ampliverse.